Good evening, everybody. Welcome in. We're so happy to have you here at Rebounding After a Financial Setback. We're going to have a wonderful presentation. You are going to be able to increase your financial health and increase your financial capacity. Why? Because we create what we pay attention to, and you took time out of your precious life to come and take care of your financial health. So bravo, bravo. My name is Veronica Dangerfield, and I am the Senior Financial Educator here serving you members at Patelco Credit Union. And did you know that today is National Bucket List Day? And it reminds us to never, that we're always able to set new goals, go on dream vacations, but mostly inspire people around, enjoy life to the fullest. And now I wanted to do a few housekeeping things. You will receive a link to this webinar, and so you don't have to worry about taking copious notes. We will be sending you a link within the next 3 to 4 days. Please use the chat for comments, support each other. We like to have a lot of amens and some hallelujahs in the chat, so please feel free to do that. Please understand that if you have if your question is too personal, we may not be able to answer it on this platform, but we have a lot of remarkable and resourceful people, and we will support you. Just send us an email at webinars.com. Now, if the chat distracts you, please minimize them. And remember that it's so important to be nice. We have some upcoming webinars that you're going to absolutely love, focusing on your health and wealth, Patelco membership perks. You can't utilize a benefit unless you understand what the benefit is. And here at Patelco, we have a lot of benefits to, again, to support you in your financial life. We also have on May the 22nd, the do's and don'ts of home purchasing in 2024. Everybody's still buying homes. So if that is something that you want to do in your future, please feel free to stop by and listen to our real estate professionals giving you the best that they got. Okay, and now I have the immense pleasure to introduce to you my amazing co-worker. He is my friend, and he is an amazing, amazing man. In fact, I stole his address so I could send a Mother's Day card to his mother. Yes, it's one of those love things. So Andrew brings a lighthearted and positive perspective when delivering financial wellness education to a numbers of audiences in Northern California. He's a community engagement specialist with Patelco Credit Union, and he also doubles as a weekly trivia host. It was so fun when we went to see him do trivia, showcasing his passion and his knowledge for connection. So let me please introduce the fabulous, the amazing Andrew Farrell. Yay!
Thank you. Thank you so much, Veronica. That was a lovely introduction. I appreciate it. All right, you guys, we are going to talk today about rebounding after a financial setback. So let's say, I'm going to paint a picture for you guys. You're cruising down the road, right? You're staying on budget. You're meeting your financial goals. Everything's gravy. Everything's going well. And then all of a sudden, life happens, right? This happens to all of us. We've all been there. Financial setbacks can derail your budget. They can drain your emergency fund. They can put you in debt sometimes. There's lots of ways that it can really, really throw you off your game. So what are the steps that you can take to help recover financially in whatever capacity you need to whenever these financial setbacks occur? And how can you adequately rebound and get yourself back on the straight and narrow? That is what we are going to be talking about today in this webinar, Rebounding After a Financial Setback. So again, as Veronica said, my name is Andrew Farrell. I have been with Patelco Credit Union for about 6 years. I started as a teller at a branch back in 2017 when I moved from Ohio to California. I just needed a job, and Patelco tellers were hiring, and I thought that sounds like fun, and ended up falling in love with credit unions. I love being able to help people. I love being able to listen to people's individual financial needs and get them on the path that is going to best suit them. In my current role as a community engagement specialist, I work closely with college and high school students. So I do a lot of financial education in the community. I work at a lot of community events. So if you're ever at a local event in the area here in the Bay, you might see me at a table there, talking to people and mixing it up a little bit. Also, as Veronica mentioned, I do double as a trivia host. For anybody who lives in the San Francisco, Oakland Bay area, Mad Oak Bar in Oakland. I do it every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m.-ish. It's a lot of fun. Also kind of ties into what I do as a community engagement specialist here. I really like fostering community. I like fostering, education and knowledge, and doing it in a way that's, fun and lighthearted. You guys, if you do not know me or have not listened to any of my podcasts or seen my webinars, one thing that you will hopefully learn about me soon is that I really, really encourage having a positive perspective and a good time with anything that I'm doing, whether it be actual fun stuff or, your finances, which not everybody thinks of as fun, but I think it can be fun. Beyond that, I love nature. I love hiking. I love canoeing. I love camping. I love touching grass. I love being in the great outdoors. I'm a big movie guy. You'll find me in movie theaters a lot. So I like to have a good time. All right. So here's what we are going to do to get started with this webinar. We are going to get ready, be ready, and stay ready. It's a slogan that we like to use, myself and Veronica both, in all of our webinars. Basically, getting ready is going to help you to always be ready. And if you always are ready, then you have stayed ready. This applies to budgeting. It applies to recovering from financial setbacks, all areas of life. You want to first get ready, which is what you guys are doing here by being on this webinar. So give yourself a pat on the back right out the gate for getting ready with us. Once you get ready, you're going to be ready, and then you maintain that readiness. You stay ready throughout your whole financial journey. This, in a nutshell, is what our vision and our mission is at Patelco. And I'm so, so excited to be able to, add my little drip in the bucket, as it were. All right. We're going to start with a quote here. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. That is a quote by John Kabat-Zinn. He is a highly renowned professor at MIT, so he's a smart guy. Look, life is always going to happen. Financial setbacks that are completely out of our control, that's always going to be a part of life. I don't know anybody who has never had an emergency come up, who's never had any kind of financial setback, car repair, medical bill, whatever, anything out of their, out of their prediction, out of their control, come out of nowhere and derail things. While we cannot control the waves, though, or can't control the financial setbacks, what we can control is how we navigate those. So that can mean a couple things. It can mean, number one, how we prepare ourselves ahead of time to anticipate these things, because we know they're coming, right? So how can we make sure that we are in as good of a position as possible to handle these financial setbacks when they hit us? We can also control how we react when they happen. So how we maintain a positive mindset, how we avoid spiraling into stress and making the situation potentially worse when these things occur. And we can control how we, instead of doing that, tackle the setback in a way that's proactive. The last thing that is within our control here is how we move forward after the setback has occurred. So, we have prepared ourselves, the thing has happened, we stayed positive, we got through it. Now what we control is how we move forward. Do we learn from our mistakes if we made any? Do we learn how to navigate these waves any, better in the future? Do we learn how to surf, as it says in the quote here? So again, that is what we're going to be talking today, is how we can take what we can control and make the best of it, even in situations that may not be controllable. All right. Before we get into all that good stuff, I do want to empathize with everybody a little bit. Life right now is expensive, not only with unemployment, subsidizing that, with inflation happening, with everything going up in the world. Just the cost of living is very, very costly these days. I'm sure all of us can relate to this. Those of us in California, right now, California has a 5.2% unemployment rate. It is actually number 2 in the country, which is wild. Not really surprising in California because I know there's a lot of like tech industries and startups and things that maybe aren't the most stable. But if we are in those lines of work, unemployment can happen out of nowhere for a lot of either us or our loved ones. And it's definitely very stressful and scary when that occurs. If we're looking at national inflation figures, I just want to share a couple numbers with you guys. I don't want to get too, doom and gloom about it. But right now, just to kind of put things into perspective, 20.6% auto insurance rates year to year increase. This is data gathered from the Consumer Price Index. 6.1% increase in primal rental residency. We're looking at almost 4% in electricity costs, 18% in household repairs. Grocery prices are approaching 3%, almost 6% for streaming TV services, 13.5% for tickets to a sporting event. I mean, these numbers are pretty staggering, right? And not, I can speak from my own personal experience. I'm not getting annual raises that are going to match a 20.6% year to year auto insurance, rate increase. So when everything is increasing like this and our income is not increasing to match it, life can end up being very, very expensive. You throw a financial hardship on top of that, it can be a lot to cope with and to deal with. Some financial hardships that we're going to talk about, or that could fall under this umbrella here. Job loss, obviously, like we said, the unemployment rate is at 5.2%. Car troubles, on top of just car insurance and gas prices rising, auto repair costs are right now up about 8%, also from the Consumer Price Index. Medical bills, even if you have health insurance, these medical bills can be out of our control when we are hit with any kind of medical expense. And medical bills are also on the up and up. The year to year increase on that is, I believe, 8.3% right now. Home repairs, we talked about earlier, 18.2% year to year over increase. That is a wild number. Again, on top of just mortgage or on top of just HOA or property taxes or things like that. Having a home in and of itself right now is just very expensive for the standard maintenance of it. Taxes, I threw this one in last minute because I have always gotten a tax refund. I normally always, when I'm, electing for a job, I have federal withholding, take out a little extra to make sure that I get a nice refund back during tax season. This year, I did not get that refund I actually owed. I'm not sure how that happened. I've heard that from a lot of other people out there that this was a year that they owed for the first time. And when you are expecting to get a couple $1,000s and instead you have to pay that much, that can be a huge curveball that you were not expecting. The last one I want to talk about here is budgeting issues. So sometimes just overspending can put you in a sticky situation financially. Sometimes you have a hard time sticking to your budget, or you spent too much money, and either the credit card bills themselves are your financial setback, or because you spent too much and didn't save enough, when a financial setback hits, you don't have enough money to then cover that. I'm not saying that judgmentally. I myself have been in that situation more times than I can count. Again, both overspending or budgeting poorly to where I don't have enough to cover a financial setback. But whether it is something that was a budgeting issue or a issue out of your control doesn't really change the fact that when these setbacks happen, they certainly hurt. One last financial setback I do want to talk about before we get into the good stuff: student loan repayment. So the resume of student loan payments was a huge wrench that was thrown into many people's budgets, mine included. I didn't have to worry about it for many years when they were all on pause and we weren't gaining interest. And it was honestly kind of something that I just forgot about. I got used to my budget being the way it was. I got used to my savings goals and my discretionary income all being as they were on my established budget that I had had for years. And then all of a sudden, the student loan payments came knocking again. They're like, hey, I'm a large balance here. You still got to pay me. And that large payment was quite the curveball. Some statistics: the United States student loan debt totals $1.727 trillion. That is trillion with a TRILLION trillion dollars. That is a number that I cannot even comprehend in my head. Average borrower owes a little over $37,000 and the average payment is $503. So just for those of you who didn't have to experience the student loan resuming, just imagine you have a set established budget Maybe it is more on the paycheck to paycheck side. You don't have a ton of discretionary income, and all of a sudden you're hit with the $503 monthly payment on top of everything. That can be rough to navigate around. A couple things I want to talk about here, though. If you are faced with the student loan repayment or the resume of student loans, I will start by saying I am not the number one expert on this. I don't work for the Office of Federal Aid. Obviously, I work for Patelco Credit Union. So if you have any questions or any ideas on what resources they have or what you do to pursue to get that a little bit more manageable, I definitely recommend either calling the Office of Federal Aid or going to studentaid.gov. These are a couple things that have worked for me or that I've worked for other people that I know. Number one, all federal loans that are enrolled in auto pay will get a 0.25% rate reduction. So if you are able to put your student loans on auto pay, get that 0.25% rate reduction. If we're talking about that being on a balance of tens of thousands of dollars, that can add up and save you quite a bit over the life of the loan. You can also change your due date. So I say this because when my student loans resumed, they automatically put my due date on the first of the month. I already had like 3 or 4 bills that were coming out right around that time. I couldn't afford an extra couple $100 bill being in that first billing cycle. So I called, I had them push it back later in the same month. They were able to do that super easily. And I was able to balance my debts a little bit more throughout the month and make things a little bit more even. The save plan is something that, again, I'm not going to talk too much on, but anybody who is currently struggling with their student loan repayments, I definitely recommend checking this out if you haven't done it already. It's an income-driven repayment plan, and the monthly payment is based on your income, obviously, and your family size. So depending on what your income is and how big your family is, your payment can be as low as $0. That's not deferment. That's just what your monthly payment is set at based on your income and your family. Fluctuates depending on your family size and depending on your income, but it's a great way to reduce your monthly payments to something that is more in line with what your source of income is. Last thing, if you are struggling across the board, you can always request administrative forbearance where they will temporarily postpone your student loan payments and give you some time to kind of gather things and get everything together. So what I want to say here, if you are struggling with student loans, and if this is your major financial setback that has hit you, I for sure recommend you just reach out, speak to somebody to discuss your options. There are plenty of options out there, more than what I just covered right here. And again, call the Office of Federal Aid or studentaid.gov is a great resource to get more information on all the different types of repayment plans. And it's a great resource to put you in the right direction. All right, let's do a poll. Before we move on to the bouncing back and the recovering and the fun stuff, I have a poll that I would like to share with you guys, or some questions. So what I want to ask is, which of the following things have happened to you in the last 12 months? So you can choose, maybe you had job loss, maybe you had a change of your income, maybe there was a medical challenge, you had to deal with an auto or a home repair, maybe student loans was your thing, maybe it was a combination. Let us know if there's any of these financial setbacks that you have experienced, and if anything is, something that you are currently struggling with right now. All right. Let's see what we got here. I'm not seeing the results for this one popping up here. Computers, There it is. Okay. Oh wow, this is pretty balanced. Job loss, we had 29%, 44% had income changes. Lots of this is pretty across the board. Lots of people experience either one of these things or a combination or even something else. So this just goes to show that, while these things happen and while it's very stressful when it happens in the fact, just look at these statistics and know that we really are all in this together. I have experienced many of these myself. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have too, as I see right here. So, while it is something that's stressful, it's something that's inevitable. And hopefully by tuning in here, we can learn some good ways to kind of recover from any one or number of these things right here. All righty. Oops, I'm going to close that out. So, quote, hardship often prepares an ordinary person for an extraordinary destiny. Look, hardships are not fun, but they can help us come out stronger. I am a very big believer in what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. If you can endure something and come out the other side, wiser, smarter, more knowledgeable, more equipped with tools to, navigate those things in the future, more knowledgeable, that is a big win. Every setback is an opportunity for a comeback. So if you have yourself in that mindset of, I am going to come back from this, I'm going to rebound from this, you will also have this extraordinary destiny. Let's also talk about being resilient. So I want to start with a metaphor. So we're going to look at an oak tree and bamboo, right? Oak trees. Oak trees are big and strong and mighty and tall and beautiful and flashy and beautiful and gorgeous. We love oak trees. I would equate an oak tree in this sense to maybe having a really big house, maybe having a really nice car, maybe having all the nice new designer things. You're big, you're flashy. It's all right there, huge, big, visible to see. However, when a storm hits, any kind of big winds, any strong waves, anything that's really, really catastrophic, that oak tree might stay strong for a while. But when things get too hard, it will crack, it'll break, it'll knock over, it'll fall down, and it'll be big and loud and disastrous. Bamboo, on the other hand, bamboo is smaller. It's not as flashy. It's not as big. It's not even technically a tree. But when the storm hits on the bamboo is going to blow in the wind. It might float around. It might flap around, but it's not going to break. Why? Because the bamboo is resilient. It maybe isn't as flashy. It's maybe not as, in your face and Instagram worthy, as the kids say. But it is much, much more resilient. So today, we are going to teach you guys how to be more bamboo and less oak. How are we going to do that? Well, when you are hit with a financial hardship or you find yourself in any kind of financial dire straits, there are 5 things that I recommend tackling, 5 steps to getting yourself rebounded and back on that good path of, staying on budget, staying on savings, staying everything good to go, and increasing your overall resilience. So let's say you are hit with a financial setback. First and foremost, don't panic. It is human nature to panic. And so I want to be very sensitive and very empathetic that when these things happen and you're not expecting them, the gut reaction is to maybe clench up, maybe freeze, maybe start to spiral a little bit. Here's how we can reel that in a little bit more, so that we don't go down the, slide of panic and despair and woe is me. When a situation happens, a financial setback, we want to understand the situation, we want to accept the situation, and we want to face the situation. So, what does all that mean? Understanding the situation means we want to analyze it, right? We want to take a look at what happened and really analyze exactly what happened. So, maybe you had car repairs that were needed, maybe your engine went out, maybe something happened on your car, and it was because, you missed a couple maintenance things on the routine schedule. Maybe you were overspending too much, and then some kind of financial setback happened and you don't have enough money in your emergency savings to cover it. Maybe it was something that is completely out of your control. Whatever the situation is, though, if there was anything within your control, we want to understand exactly what happened, so that we are not prone to repeat that same thing again. This is why history class is so important. We learn from our history and we learn from what actually happened. We are less likely to then make those mistakes in the future. Accept the situation. So we want to accept that this happened. This is more so than just understanding that it did happen, but this is also accepting the facts here. So don't be in the denial phase. If poor budgeting was your issue, accept that. Accept that this is something that took place. Don't deny that that was the issue. If you maybe had a job loss accept the severity of that, accept that what is going on actually is what's going on, and try not to be too much in denial about it. On the flip side of that, though, I think that a lot of people can tend to be too hard on themselves, and be stuck in that shoulda, coulda, woulda phase. Look, what has already happened. There's no going back and fixing it. There's no going back and getting that oil change you should have gotten 6 months ago. There's no going back and saving the money that you spent on a trip to, Italy instead of going on the vacation. It's done. It's happened. We cannot change what is in the past. All that we can change, and again, all that is in our current control is how we move forward after the setback has occurred. So instead of shoulda, coulda, woulda, or like, what should I have done? What could I have done? What would I have done had I known this? Think, what should I do? What can I do? And what will I do? It's a more proactive way of thinking, and you can kind of take that shoulda, coulda, woulda from the past tense and move it to the present and future tense. And the last step here, face the problem. So when you stare the situation down, the situation loses its grip on you. You take away its power. When you are facing, it's the same thing as facing your fears, right? Why facing fears are so important. Face what happened, face the situation, look it head on, and tell the situation, you are not going to win. All right, so we're not panicking. Now we need to be a little bit more technical. We want to run the numbers. So what I suggest here, first list all your current finances. This is everything that you have, because we're going to probably need to reassess the way that we are spending our money right now in our current spending plan. So we just want to get everything out on paper or in a spreadsheet or somewhere that's visible to us. This is listing your lenders, your interest rates, your balances, your debt types, getting it all out there so you can then work it into a new financial plan. Having all of your finances listed in one setting will help you survey the damage, and get everything in proper perspective so that you can get a comprehensive viewpoint on what the full picture is, not just with your balances and whatnot, but also like, what is insurance going to pay? Do I have all of my doctor bills? Is this a one-time expense, or is this something that's going to probably be an ongoing situation? Just having everything listed out there gives you a clear idea of exactly what this current situation is. And again, helps you stare the situation down. So when it's all out there, it might look a little overwhelming, right? It might hurt to look at for a while, but again, staring it down, getting it all out in the open and taking control of that, you strip it of its power. It might hurt to look at. It might seem like it's a huge, huge mountain to climb, but I guarantee if you are proactive and you are actually disciplined about tackling this financial setback, you will achieve it. You will 100% overcome what you need to. So do not get discouraged by having everything out in the open. Next, we want to make our calls. So if you have any questions about anything, what is insurance going to cover? How can I make payments? Is there anything I have to pay out of pocket? Can I consolidate? Any questions that you have, make those calls right then. Don't make them, on Monday. There's a lot of Mondays. We got to get everything done so we can then be proactive. Now is the time to gather all that information. I'm going to keep track of our activity. So you can keep a spreadsheet. On my phone, if I have anything, I have a little notes app where I plug everything into, and I keep a spreadsheet of who I called, when I called, what we spoke about, all that good stuff. This helps with referring back if you ever have to, follow up on calls to know exactly when you called and what was talked about. But it also kind of helps CYA a little bit. So if you're ever calling an insurance company, especially, and one person tells you one thing and then you call back and someone else tells you another, you have receipts, right? You can go back and say, actually, on April 10th, I spoke to Maria and she told me XYZ at 4:48 p.m. So just having documentation of what you spoke to or what you spoke about and to who will help you quite a bit as well. And then last, we want you to take an inventory of your resources. So do you have a savings account? Do you have insurance? How can you pay, out from what you already have? If you need to go into debt or maybe find other ways to take the money out, maybe you have a CD. Is it worth breaking that? If not, you can always take a loan against your CD, and that has a lower interest rate. Maybe you have retirement savings or a 401k. Taking a 401k loan is a great option because normally you're paying yourself back the interest for that. If you need to actually dip into the 401k, not something I recommend as like a first result, or a first option, but that is a possibility as well, given the additional tax ramifications that come along with that. If you have a car, that's a really, really great way to take some extra funds out without having to get a personal loan or put your, balance on a credit card. The last thing I would recommend if any big financial setback happens is to just automatically charge it to your credit card, because those rates are always going to be the highest. Let's say you have a car that you owe maybe $2,000 or $3,000 on, but the car is worth 10,000. You can refinance that car for the full amount that it is worth and take the difference out in cash. It's called a cash out refinance. So just, take a full inventory of the money and the resources you have and get creative with how you can pull that money out in a way that is the most cost efficient. Last thing I'm going to say here, do not be afraid to ask for help and do not be afraid to accept help. If there are people who see that you're struggling and they want to offer you help, it is because they love you and they don't want to see you struggling. Don't let your pride get in the way. Accept the help as you would give them help if the roles were reversed. All right, next we want to set a goal. Now you will notice I have said goal and not goals. Here we want it to be one specific goal. You've got to know where your money is going to go before you can figure out how to get there, right? You can't create an action plan for how to get where you're going until you know where you're going. And when you are hit with any kind of financial setback, typically it is going to be one thing that you're going to have to tackle to get yourself back on your kind of standard budgeting. So create one goal. Make sure your goal is realistic. Setting a goal that is unrealistic or too lofty is a great way to feel down on yourself or not succeed in what your goal is. People who say that they can't achieve their financial goals, and then you find out their goal is to save $100,000 in 6 months. Like maybe we should make that goal a little bit more, realistic. So just make sure the goal is something that you actually can attain before you start pursuing it. What you want to do is choose one thing to focus on based on what you laid out in the previous step. So it could be what you incurred from the financial setback. Maybe you have a large balance now somewhere or a large bill you got to pay off. Could be rebuilding savings. Could also be something you already had. So maybe you've incurred some new balances and now you have more balances on, various credit cards than you'd like. Look at your finances, pick whatever lights you up the most and worry about paying that off. So it could be a debt with the lowest balance that you just want to get rid of. Could be what has the highest rate, the highest payment, whatever's causing you the most stress. Focus solely on knocking that one thing out. Set the goal as something that's isolated, and you can then move on to the other things after that. We also want to make sure we are setting and implementing SMART goals. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with SMART goals, this is a great way to make sure that your goal gets accomplished. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So we'll say in this instance, your goal is to save. You've dipped into your savings and now you're saying, my goal is I want to rebuild my savings. Okay, that's a very large, abstract goal that's really hard to actually pursue. So we want to put it through the SMART machine. What's more specific? Do you want to rebuild your retirement savings, your emergency savings? What exactly are you trying to rebuild? Measurable, how much? How much are you trying to, save or pay off or whatever? A is attainable. So how do we attain that? Let's say you're trying to rebuild your emergency savings. You wiped out $10,000, so that's the amount. How do we attain that? We can say we'll save $400 every pay period to get back to where we need to be. R is relevant. So why do I want to achieve this goal? I think coming back to the why in any frame of mind, whether it be budgeting, rebuilding, whatever, knowing your why and your motivation is always going to help you stick to whatever your plans are. And T is timely. So when is this going to get done? If you save $400 each pay period and you get paid biweekly, it gets you $10,000 in about a year. So instead of now saying, I want to save more, you have now said, I want to replenish my emergency savings to $10,000 by saving $400 every paycheck for a year. That is much, much easier to follow than just a very broad, vague goal, and much easier to set yourself up with success for. So make sure your goal meets all these parameters to ensure it's something that's within your capacity and that you have a roadmap for your goal. Just like having a budget is like having a roadmap for money that goes in and out of your account. having a SMART goal is a roadmap for accomplishing what your goals are. Step 4, we are going to adjust our budget. So for those of you who were present in the budgeting webinar a few months ago, we talked about how revisiting your budget periodically is something that you should do. This is exactly that. So how can you adjust your budget? First, I would suggest creating a goal-based budget. So a goal-based budget is basically a spending plan that is focused around one specific goal. So for this, we'll take retirement replenishment for an example. Maybe you had to take some money out of your 401k to satisfy whatever the need was for your financial setback, and now your main objective is to rebuild your retirement savings. We want to create our budget around what that goal is. So maybe right now you are contributing 8% to your 401k. How much can you afford to up that to? Maybe you can afford to up it to 20% for a short term, for a temporary period, just to get it back to where it was. So you start with that. Okay, I'm going to up my retirement savings contribution to 20%. That is now coming out. That's now money that is no longer discretionary. I'm going to now build the rest of my budget around this goal. After that, you're going to reassess your savings plan. So obviously, in any budget, you still need to make sure you're making your at least minimum payment on all your other debts. But maybe you had a savings account that was for vacation. I have one. I try to put about $200 per pay period into it. Maybe you have other discretionary income that you put your money aside for, eating out, entertainment, whatever. You want to reassess how much you are giving those other categories that are a little bit more discretionary, whether they be other savings goals or just, fun income, and maybe make the cuts from there, again, for a short-term period to make sure that your goal-based budget is something that you can stick to. And then last, let's set up auto pay. So once you've determined how much you can afford to set up for savings rebuilding or whatever it is, automate that. This holds yourself accountable. It makes it easier to stay on top of the savings that are going in there. And some places might even offer you a discount depending on what you're paying back. So like I mentioned earlier, for student loans, they give you a 0.25% rate discount if you're on auto pay. I know some like car insurance places will give you an auto pay discount. So auto pay not only makes sure that the bill is paid, it makes it out of sight, out of mind, it holds it accountable, but there's also a chance that you might save a little bit of money by doing auto pay as well. So automate your savings to the best that you can. And the fifth and final step to rebuilding is to stay positive. Having a positive mindset, I cannot say enough good things about having a positive mindset. It really is just, the way to live your life. Now, I know that when these financial setbacks happen, sometimes it's hard to do that. So what I would ask you guys to do in order to help yourself stay positive in times of stress or in times of financial turmoil is to forgive yourself, commit to yourself, and enjoy yourself. So by forgiving yourself, ask yourself if you are treating yourself with the same respect and dignity that you would treat a friend who is going through the exact same situation. And if the answer is no, then tweak that so that you are treating yourself the same way you treat your loved ones. Give yourself grace, let go of regret, whether there were aspects of the situation or the financial setback that were or were not in your control. Forgive yourself, shake it off, let it go, don't regret things, and just give yourself the same grace that you would give others. Commit to yourself. So this is where you are going to shake your own hand and make the promise to yourself where you say, I am going to bounce back. I am also a big believer in the law of attraction. So I think that if you will things into existence and you say enough times, I am going to do this, I will do it, that will also follow. You want to make that commitment to yourself that bouncing back is something that is going to occur, and then follow through with it. And then last, enjoy yourself. Still have fun, still enjoy life. Don't wallow in the stress. There are plenty of free or cost-effective ways to still have fun if you're trying to rebound after a financial setback. For those of you who do live in the Bay Area, which I think is probably a lot of you guys, for all the issues that the Bay Area has, I truly do believe that the Bay Area is the most beautiful part of the United States. We have the ocean you can go to. You can, walk around San Francisco, look at the sea lions, go to the ferry building, walk around the cute neighborhoods. You can go to any of the national or local parks we have. There's hiking. There's so much you can do just as a tourist in your own city that costs no money. You can have movie nights with your friends. You can do all sorts of fun things still that are very cost effective or free. And make sure you focus on doing those things so that you still maintain some levity in your life. Having that levity will help you stay positive as well. Don't wallow in what happened. It's happened. You've done the other steps. So you've done, again, all that is within your control to do to get yourself back on track. So whatever the financial setback was, whatever, the negative thing that happened to you that, caused you to be in this financial situation, there is no need to give that any more energy than is absolutely necessary. Positive and negative emotions cannot occupy the mind at the same time. A quote by Napoleon Hill, a very prolific self-help author. Positive and negative emotions are mutually exclusive. It's just like flipping a coin. So if you flip a coin, you got to call heads or tails. You can't, while the coin is in the air, be saying like, mostly heads, but maybe a little bit of tails too. That's not how it works. The coin's going to land on one or the other, and you got to call it. Positive and negative emotions are the same way. Now, I do want to be a little bit sensitive because I'm not trying to preach toxic positivity here. If things happen and you need to wallow and you need to be upset for a little bit, I understand. The way that I do this is I give myself a time period depending on, I guess, the severity of the situation. So a couple years ago, Cheesecake Factory took away my favorite cheesecake flavor. It was the white chocolate macadamia nut cheesecake. I loved it. I went in one day to get a slice of cheesecake. I said, I will have one slice of white chocolate macadamia nut, please. And the woman said, we have discontinued that flavor. Every time I walk in the Cheesecake Factory now, I still feel a little pang of betrayal. But, when that happened, I said, okay, I'm going to be annoyed for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'm going to move on because that's really all that situation deserved. If you lose your job, probably deserves more than a couple minutes. Maybe you say to yourself, I just need the weekend to, sit and be grumpy and eat junk food and binge watch TV and not be, a productive member of society. That's fine. These negative emotions are going to build up. Get it out of your system. Give yourself the time period that you need to feel those feelings and to work through them. And then time to put on your happy face, time to get in that positive mindset and move forward. You truly do get back what you put out into the world. So choose positivity as much as you can, and that positivity will also come back your way. All right, so another way to be resilient is to anticipate future expenses. We know that these things are going to happen. We know that financial setbacks are going to come our way. So how can we be resilient? How can we prepare for them ahead of time? Let's say we've had a financial setback. We dipped into our emergency savings, we wiped it out, and now we have to rebuild. Emergency savings or a rainy day fund, we should try to shoot for about 3 to 6 months worth of what our expenses are. If we wipe that out and we need to really accelerate that regrowth, here are a couple steps to do that. Number one is a bare bones budget. If you cut your budget to the bare bones, which is only what you need to live off, and chop unnecessary things, that can really, really accelerate your savings. Again, this and pretty much everything I talk about on here are going to be temporary solutions. So a bare bones budget is not something I would expect anybody to stick to long term. For those of you who are on my budgeting webinar, I'm a big, big proponent of factoring fun into any budget. But if we're in a situation where we do really have to focus on one goal and being aggressive about it, the bare bones budget will help. This means that if you have things in your budget to go to vacation savings or to go to eating out or to go to anything that's, fun and frivolous, cut those and put all that to emergency savings until you get to where you feel a little bit more comfortable. A no spend month, this is another temporary option. So this says that for the month of May, we'll say, because it's coming up, we are going to do no frivolous spending. We'll cut back on groceries. So we'll go through what we already have in the pantry and the freezer and work off that. Anything in excess, hard no. For me, this is easier to stick to than if I allow myself some cheating or some wiggle room. If you just firmly say the answer is no, I am doing no spending from May 1st to May 31st, it's black and white. It takes away the gray area. It gives you less wiggle room and less of a slippery slope, as opposed to saying like, well, this one thing I can maybe say yes to. Set a time frame. This month is no, and no is just the answer. You will save a tremendous amount of money that month. I promise you. I have done a no spend month once in my life. I think I saved an extra like $500 or $600 just in that month, just by cutting out on dining out and things like that. I should do it again, but it's hard. But if you need to, it's something that's there. Selling old items. So again, this is not going to make you rich beyond your wildest dreams, but it can help, pad your savings a little bit more as a one-time thing. Go through your attic, go through your basement. If you have any old furniture, any old camping gear, any old stuff that you're not using, I guarantee you there's someone out there who wants to buy it. Facebook Marketplace is a great resource to list these things. When I first moved from Ohio to California, I had like a little 2-day yard sale. I was only 26 at the time, so I didn't have anything that valuable. I was mostly just selling, little knickknacks and trinkets. But I still think I made about $300 in 2 days. And also, I was able to clear out unnecessary things and kind of minimalize a little bit, which is also great for mental health. So selling old items can be twofold. It's good to kind of downsize and clear out some extra clutter and make a little bit of cash as well. And you can also get a side hustle, a little temporary side gig to pad your savings a little bit more. Uber and Lyft, you can always do that. DoorDash or Instacart if you don't want strangers in your car. Amazon Flex, you can deliver for Amazon. There's also, if you have pets, a great pet sitting app I use called Rover, where anybody can go on there and elect to be a pet sitter. You can do drop-in visits or dog walking or whatever it is. You can also get paid for creative hobbies. So if you crochet or if you paint or if you do anything like that, you can sell that stuff. People pay top dollar for, hand knit sweaters and hats. I have my side hustle where I do trivia. That's just because I tend to have a lot of useless information popping around my brain, and I like to go down, Wikipedia wormholes. So I figured, how can I translate this nerdiness into some cash? And trivia was the answer for me. So again, not a permanent solution. I'm not suggesting all of you guys go drive Uber for the rest of your lives. But if you need to do it for a couple months to replenish your savings, that is totally an option as well. Okay, now we have reassessed our budget. How are we going to stay on that budget? So, number one, know your why. We talked about this earlier in the SMART goals when we were talking about the R, the relevant step. Knowing your why will help you stick to your budget. When you create a new budget, at least for me, and I set a new goal or I have a new spending plan or I have everything out on paper and I say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tackle this bill. I'm going to set this month aside. I'm going to grow my savings really fast. It's going to be great. It is so fun and shiny and new. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm so financially sound. I'm smart. I'm taking care of my future. And then after a week, 2 weeks, a month, however long it takes, the budgeting burnout starts to hit where I now want to start spending more money on fun stuff. I don't want to keep putting all my money in emergency savings. That's not fun. I don't want to do this anymore. Whenever that budgeting burnout hits, always come back to your why. Always remember why you are creating this budget in the first place. If it's to help put yourself in a better financial space when a financial setback hits you, whatever the reason is, revisit that. You can even put it on post-its and smack it around your house if you like that visual affirmation. Whatever it takes to keep that why for budgeting front and center, do that. Find what budgeting technique works best for you. So there are, of course, budgeting apps out there. You can do check registers or paper statements. You can do spreadsheets. Find whatever your preferred method of sticking to your budget is and do that. You can't expect a budgeting technique that isn't something you enjoy doing or something you understand or you're comfortable with to work for you. So I used to use Mint as my budgeting app. Unfortunately, it was purchased by Credit Karma and now it is not the same. I am not the most tech savvy person, so I have migrated to using like notes and spreadsheets and things like that. I'd rather do that than learn a whole new app and have a new learning curve. If you were to just give me a brand new app or give me a bunch of paper statements and say, here, figure out your budget, that wouldn't work for me. So find what does work for you and then make sure you stick with that. Avoid impulse buying. This is the #1 budget killer. I talk about it until I'm blue in the face. The average American spends about $314 a month, over $3,700 a year, and hold on to your seats, over $226,000 in a lifetime just on impulse purchases. Impulse purchases are tricky because they're not really allocated in anyone's budget. So you can think you're sticking to a budget just fine, even if you are going to Starbucks, every morning or buying this, cheap little thing you think is, nice at Target. Avoid those. Use the 30-day rule. Make yourself wait 30 days if you need to. But whatever you have to do in order to avoid these impulse purchases, your wallet and your future self will thank you. And last, surround yourself with support. So surround yourself with people who respect your budget. You are who your friends are. So be around supportive people, not people who are going to tempt you to overspend, people who are going to support the financial boundaries that you have for yourself during this time period. Also, make sure you're communicating what you're doing to your loved ones so that they know that you are in this position of rebuilding, that maybe you're currently practicing a no spend month or a bare bones budget. And if they are people who, love you, your friends, your family, they will respect you, they will support you, and they will encourage you. And having that extra encouragement and extra support will help you stay positive. All right, so before we talk about some resources Patelco has to offer and we wrap up this for the day, I want to share one last quote. You become what you give your attention to, from Epictetus, Greek philosopher. This is a little nugget that you can take with you and apply to any aspect of your life. Anything is within your reach if you consciously make the effort to give it the necessary attention that it deserves. So this goes back to that law of attraction, right? If you put it out, it will come back. If you build it, they will come, for those of you who are Field of Dreams fans. Tell yourself, I am going to rebound. I am going to recover from this. Get in that mindset of, I will do this. I'm going to give myself this goal, this SMART goal, and I will achieve it. Give it the attention and the care that it deserves, and it will happen for you. You will become what you give your attention to. All righty. Before we wrap up this webinar, and thank you guys all for attending, by the way, and listening to me, run my mouth for an hour. I want to talk about some resources that Patelco has. So, Veronica, yes. Oh, you're muted.
There was just a couple of questions
Sure.
that I thought before you end. Joshua had a job loss and he got a severance. Mm-hmm. What should he do with that severance? Should he just pay off his debt, or should he keep it in savings? What do you think?
I mean, it depends on where he's at financially. And that's there's not like a one size fits all thing for this. So if he has a job loss and he has a severance that he needs to live off of, I would recommend keeping that somewhere that's a little bit more liquid so he can, use that funds to fund his life as he searches for a new job. If he already has another job and that severance is just extra income that he has, I would just, like I said, lay everything out, lay out all the numbers, run everything, and find out what's most cost effective. So if you already have a decent nest egg for yourself, a decent rainy day fund, pay off your debts so that you're not paying unnecessary interest. If you need to, pad your savings a little bit, put it in there. Just do what's best for whatever your current financial situation is after you lay it all out.
Yeah, but prioritize your life over debt.
1,000.
Make sure yeah. So that's great. And then I just had a couple of people, and I think you did an amazing job tonight, Andrew. It was very thorough, but a lot of people were talking about rebounding after like a medical situation. Mm-hmm. We had a couple of people that were rebounding after divorce, a job loss, pandemic. You actually gave us all the information that we need to build back our savings up. So if you guys have any further questions, you can always reach to us at webinars.com and we can answer your specific questions. But I wanted to commend you because it was an amazing presentation and you gave so much heart. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Veronica. Yeah, like she was saying, it's webinars@patelco.org is the email address if you have any other questions. Patelco.org under our financial wellness tab is where you're going to find some other resources as well. We do have our podcast, Small Talks for Big Change, which is available Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast. One episode I want to highlight is From Challenges to Comebacks. It's all about overcoming financial setbacks. We also have Bonsai, which is a free service, has lots of financial education resources on there for different topics. It can assist with creating and maintaining budgets and help with, tracking spending. Balance, we have, it's a great financial resource, offers financial toolkits. You can do online chats with balance counselors. There's self-guided coaching options on there. Spring 4 is a financial wellness platform. It's designed to connect people to local resources in their area to help improve their financial lives. So saving on utilities, access to affordable food, available housing, all that is free of charge to use. Patelco.org under the financial wellness tab. You can find all that. One last thing I want to talk about is the best resource that we have at Patelco Credit Union is our team of employees. So you go to any branch, you go to our virtual branch, you're going to find a great team there that is willing to talk to you, to listen to your overall financial situation and get you on the straight and narrow. Patelco.org/financial journey. You can go and request a meeting with one of our CFSs or our certified financial specialists. Their whole training is to help with, rebuilding a budget, credit maintenance, getting back on track. They are our bread and butter. So we have a great team, great resources. Anybody who needs any further information, stop by a branch, visit our virtual branch, or again, patelco.org under the financial wellness tab, or email us webinars@patelco.org.
Fabulous. Deborah says, thank you so much for being so helpful and not shaming about the financial stress.
I am in no position to shame anybody, Veronica. Every financial budgeting mistake that could be made, I have probably made myself. So yeah, no shame here. This is a judgment-free zone.
See, everybody saying thank you. Jason says he loves how upbeat we are. So we love that. Nevin says, cashing out my investments to pay off $60K in debt. Is that something you would recommend? I think that he might need to talk to one of our financial advisors.
Probably, yeah. And that's exactly what these resources here are for, is for more of those like one-on-one type questions. So definitely reach out, patelco.org/financial journey. We can put you in contact with a certified financial specialist, and they can really get into all the nitty gritty there.
Well, you did an amazing job, and there's so much appreciation and love coming from the chat. It's just warming my heart. So thank you, Andrew, for your amazing presentation. Thank you, Michelle, for all the wonderful things you did in chat. And we're looking forward to seeing you in another 2 weeks with some amazing information about all the things that we have to increase your financial health.
Right here.
And wealth. Go ahead. Take it away, Andrew.
Yes, we have an upcoming webinar coming up. It'll be May 9th, focusing on your health and wealth Patelco membership perks. So we do this webinar every year, but every year we always have fresh, new, updated membership perks. So whatever we talked about last year, we probably have new stuff this year that you're going to learn about. New checking account features, new savings and investing tools, trust and will services, fraud prevention center, auto loan discounts, all kinds of perks that we have for our members. And they're probably are things that you've never even heard of or that you don't know that we offer. So this webinar is going to be great if you just want to uncover every area of opportunity that we have here at Patelco to help with your financial health and well-being.
Yay.
Thank you guys all so much for joining us tonight. My name is Andrew.
Have a great evening. Thank you for joining us. We love you guys. We'll see you.
All right. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.